So what to expect? Over the next 60-ish minutes or however long, we'll cover interlibrary loans outside of the system and the direct access program. Virtual drumroll. I'm thrilled to present the one and only Megan Wakeman, Collections Librarian for the Capital District Library Council, CDLC. AKA our regional superhero headquarters. When Megan isn't busy using her librarian superpowers, she's moonlighting as the mastermind behind our interlibrary loan network and the direct access program. Think of her as the librarian who can teleport books faster than you can say hold request. So adjust your headsets, grab your favorite mug, and join me in giving Megan a warm virtual welcome.
Hello, everyone. I'm happy to be here. Like Jack said, I'm the collections librarian, and I do handle a lot of the ILL requests through CDLC. So let me just start sharing my screen, and I will get started with you. Just drag this over. Kind of my MO with a lot of online training tutorials is to just, because I only have one little screen and lots of things to show you, I always have many tabs open. In fact, I have many tabs open right now on the other screen. But for the purposes of Zoom, I like to go through the slideshow, and then I'll do a live demo. We'll go online and I'll show you what it looks like to make a links request and where everything is. And about 5 minutes after this is over, I'll be sharing my slides with Jack, so you can all have these afterwards. Started. Minimize that. And links. It doesn't stand for anything. It's just the name. And it's our discovery and share platform here at CDLC. Today we'll be going over some general stuff about resource sharing so you can see how you all fit into the scope of it, as well as, and we'll definitely go in depth with Link, and I will be talking about the DAP program afterwards. And if anyone has any questions, please just unmute yourself and ask. All right, I'd rather just answer it in the moment. It'll make more sense in the moment as we're going over things. So I don't mind at all. Let's go ahead. So a little bit about CDLC. You know, we're a library consortia. Our whole membership is made up of other libraries, and all libraries of all different types. The big ones are that our direct members are public library systems and school library systems, and that I've listed all of these out individually. Obviously, this is you. But so at your individual library, you're not a direct CDLC member, you're an indirect member. You still get all the same benefits, but it's really your system that is the CDLC member. I didn't list them all out, but we do have well over 20 academic libraries in the region, as well as different hospital and specialized libraries that are also independent members. So a lot of different staff fluctuations, as you can see, through our different memberships and what it might be like being a school librarian or working by yourself in a small museum or in a, you know, at UAlbany or something like that. CDLC is a part of ESLIN, that's the Empire State Library Network. You may have heard of us referred to as the 3 Rs by the New York State Library. That's what we used to be called, and there was a rebranding. So there's 9 councils across New York State that are similar to CDLC and what we do. Here we are. There is a little bit of a crossover. These aren't hard boundaries, mostly due to our memberships. So, you know, the WSWHE BOCES goes all the way up to Essex County, but, you know, we don't serve any public libraries in Essex. So I assume that maybe their schools are just down here and there's more up there. You know, boundaries do get crossed. You know, Questar school system is also, they serve Rensselaer County right here, as well as Columbia and Greene counties. And that's also where the kind of cutoff line for our other sister council, Southeastern, is down there. With ESLIN resources, you still get the same, you know, all of their services apply to CDLC members, and that you are welcome to use these services as well. There's a whole list of other digital repositories, including, I provided a link for this one, the EADC. The rest are all available on the CDLC website. Empire Library Delivery is the courier service that, well, CDLC used to be directly on the line, but that is the courier service that goes throughout New York State, only New York State, and many different academic libraries and larger public libraries utilize this. And sometimes if you've wondered, how did this book arrive so quickly from Buffalo? It's probably because it was ELD and that they just went from those couriers directly to the Albany hub. We do have a 24/7 reference line available through our website, as well as the Ask the Lawyer series. We continue to do advocacy work. And I linked here right to the CDLC calendar and our continuing education collaboration. If one of our councils is providing a webinar, you can, and if it's available for all ESLIN members, you can sign up for that. And they'll just ask you which council you're from, and that's CDLC. But there's a lot of different resources there. Some of our resource sharing at CDLC, because we like to make it access to all of our physical and digital collections. There's New York Heritage, which you can also submit your own localized collections for different photographs or different historical artifacts that are relevant. There's also a database where you can search New York State historic newspapers. And locally to us at CDLC is our unique collections database. It's my plan for the summer, is updating that. But if you have a library of things or a sort of unique collection that's a little bit different than for what everyone else might have, maybe it's some different localized things, please submit a submission to us and we will get it in the database. And of course, we have links. And that's really a union catalog that serves as a regional catalog, and that you can see what other libraries have within our 10-county region. And it will allow you then to directly request something from that library. We'll get into it. One of the questions I did receive, though, was about the difference of how to explain to patrons about reciprocal borrowing, or how you can request something, and what's the difference between interlibrary loan and requesting something within your system. It's a really good question, and it comes up a lot. ILL is a borrowing agreement between one library and the other. If you're making an ILL request, believe it or not, your library is the patron. And that means the library staff is doing all of the work and requesting that book and then getting it available to the patron and then getting that book back from the patron and returning it to the library, versus borrowing within your system. Even if it's a library that's very far away, if a patron's able to do that request on their own, like just enter in their own library card number and select it and request it, that is not necessarily really interlibrary loan. That's reciprocal borrowing. That's a part of your system and how it works. I guess one big difference, the example I'd use, is if they had a awful tragedy and one of your patrons had a fire at home and all of their library books burned up. If they were your library books, you might be saying, that's okay, we're not going to charge you. But if it's an ILL book, sure, you can say, we're not going to charge you, but you really need to contact that lending library and let them know, we lost your book, it's gone. And then you would be on the hook for paying for that lost cost to the library. And using links is free. Please don't charge your patrons for it. We can talk a little bit more about different details, but if it's coming from the CDLC region, it shouldn't, it might not need to be shipped by mail. It could be, but you shouldn't be charging your patrons for a links usage. So links, what does it do? It came out in January of 2023. Sometimes people may have heard about the old eForm, and it works very similar to it. It's still even run, the catalog is still run by index data, so it looks very similar to the old eForm. Sometimes you'll also hear the legacy term Cadillac, and that was the old catalog, the Union catalog, where you search for everything. But we would often then refer to the catalog as Cadillac, and then you would actually fill out the eForm. And now we just refer to all of it as links. whether you're placing a request or just searching. It's just all links now. One of the big fundamental changes with it is the system setup for it. Previously, there was one login for the library and one password for that library, and then they would lose the password and ask me what it was. And it was the same thing. It would just be handed down from different staff members and different directors. So now all staff members who use links have to register for their own accounts. It'll all be tied to the same library, and that's fine. But we find this to be much more secure. If people forget their passwords, I can't actually access that, but I can send you a link to reset your password. And once a staff member moves on, we can just delete the links account. That's no problem. So what's available through links? Mostly books. You can also send children's books. That's fine. Most people will send out their 28-day loans, the typical items, and maybe not special items. We'll get to that. You can request AV materials, and you can certainly lend out AV materials. The choice is really up to the lending library if they want to or not. You can also sometimes get copies of articles. It's a little harder. People are a little more reluctant to it. But if you do find a journal copy, you can, or a journal article, and you find a college that has that journal, you can request through links as well. You know, sometimes even I say public libraries are absolutely willing, if it's perfectly fine if you want to copy an article out of a magazine and then scan it and send it off to a neighboring library. You really can't get ebooks. Those are not lendable, and certainly not through links. Obviously not special collections. We don't expect anyone to loan out things that are non-circulating to their own regular patrons at reference materials. And new and popular items really aren't the ideal target for interlibrary loan. I like to say interlibrary loan is not a way to bypass the request line. You got to go through your own system first. It should be for stuff that's not available at your library or within your system. And don't be surprised if no one's sending you out copies of the most latest book. All right. Big question again is that when you do set up your staff accounts, the one criteria that you need is the registration code. Just contact me or anyone at CDLC for it. Otherwise, then you'll be able to just set up your own accounts with all of your information. You just need to know like your library's address. I have the website right here. There's several, there's also you just click create a new account from this. We're going to go through that process. But you basically fill out your information and submit, and then you wait. I'm going to say 48 hours, but it's never been that long for anyone, not even on a Friday night. Your account just has to be approved, which is by me. I get those. And then you can verify your account. I do believe you have to enter in your password one more time to get going. So that's a little frustrating. But you should receive an email after you submit for a new account and say just, your account is waiting to be approved. And then you'll get another email letting you know that your account was approved. And I'm just verifying that all the information is correct. You don't need to know this, but there is a Library of Congress has issued location codes to many libraries across the country. I never knew that until we were undergoing the links transition. And that is what ties everyone to the one location. This might come up, especially, I don't know if you have the same email, but maybe you work at two different libraries. I don't know if you'd have a Sal's email or not. But this has come up a lot with the school libraries, and that we recommend that you actually create two different usernames for that. But you can still use the same email address. I do want to mention that if you're using your work email address for your links account, that doesn't necessarily mean that you get all the requests. Don't worry, that those requests will go to the email address at your library, the one that's provided for that. But you can always update your user account, and you can update your library's profile, and I'll show you that later. So, if the phone number changes or something, you can update that. You can temporarily suspend library service for as as long as you need to accommodate staffing schedules. And then you can also select which items you're willing to loan or not. Searching can be a little wonky. You have to understand that Lynx is really purposely broad to access so many different catalogs and different cataloging standards across the region. It does use Z3950 protocols. And what we've found is that sometimes you have to search a couple of different ways. It just came up this week where somebody noticed that none of the UHLS libraries were turning up in results. It was all a fail. And I looked at it and was like, put "the" in front of the title. They were using a keyword search. It was an excellent search, I have to say. It was pretty much the title, except a natural habit. And that's just a little tick that's going on there. So I am talking out of both sides of my mouth. I'm saying sometimes you have to be very precise and sometimes you have to be broad. But I would definitely recommend that you actually search for a title to like at least twice before you say it's not here. You want to just make sure that it's not being missed somehow. And then you can place a request for physical items. You can also request for copies. I'll show you how to do that in a second. It's what a nice feature about Lynx that we didn't have in the old system is that now you can send a request out once for multiple copies of the same title, and those can go out to multiple libraries. So if you're hosting a book club and you need as many copies as you can from for a book, that you can actually find it, request it, and then select the option for multiple copies, and then send out multiple requests all at once, and you won't have to do it one at a time to each library. And if the item isn't found, then I refer to your system and see if you can get it outside of the region. So Lynx is just for CDLC libraries. If you find that the item is in Buffalo or out of state, then I would definitely refer to your system. Other smaller libraries do contact me for those requests, but they tend not to be belonging to a system and like they're all by themselves. Basically. And so I will, there is a form that people contact me on that outside of Lynx. For lending requests, this is an email system, so you're going to send it through Lynx through that platform, but the other library is going to be receiving an email saying you have a Lynx request. If you receive the Lynx request, you can answer yes or no. Once you're able, if you determine whether or not you're able to lend, there's an option to select the due date. You, as the lending library, get to choose the due date. There is an option to give a reason if the answer is no. That can be really helpful if the patron, just to let them know whether or not there's an issue with it, if it's about this particular item, or if it's just a matter of it's checked out, or it's like your book club book and then they need to wait another month. You can provide an answer, but you don't have to. And then the big question I get is then what do you do afterwards? And then you have to process it out through your system. I used to work at Albany Public Library, and we had several accounts that were just set up for ILL. Those were the barcodes that were associated with it, and we would actually check the book out to that account. I think Sal's is a little different. I know you have a lot of codes, and but follow your library's internal procedures. But you do want to make sure that that item is no longer showing up in your catalog as checked in because you're lending it out. And you don't want to just send off the book with no notice. You want to include some paperwork. Because Lynx is fairly simple, I just suggest a printout of the email request is okay. You can write the due date right on there, slip it in the book. And can it be sent through the courier? I mean, usually it depends. I do have the link here for our delivery guide. Most of our public, school, and academic libraries are on a courier, and those different couriers intersect. What you'll be doing is sending the book out and sending it directly to Sal's in your particular case, but you want the outside of the bag to be marked as UHLS ILL. And that way Sal's will send the book to UHLS, and then the ILL people will take it and then they will send it off to where you want it to go, because they will open up that bag that you sent off the book in and then see where the final destination is. And then they'll put it in the appropriate courier bag for the right system. And so sometimes the couriers obviously take a little bit long. I know it's just sort of the crossover, sometimes the local courier is only coming once a week, or, for a system, maybe they have regular deliveries in and out every day, but then the school courier only comes by once a week or so. Once you've actually sent your request or answered the request, you will see under the action tab and links that you can follow up with clicking these different options. So they will give you these different options. I did have somebody say that like they didn't get their book, and when I looked into the request, I was like, you canceled it. They're like, we canceled it. And I'm like, oh, I see what you did. You sent a request and then immediately saw cancel on links and clicked it. I'm like, no. But it's nice because this is how you can update the libraries and letting them know about where this book is at without having to email or call somebody directly. Once you've received the book that you've requested in Links, you can go into your Links account and mark the item as received. You can also use Links to send a renewal request. And once you're done and you're returning it to the lending library, you can also mark it as returned in Links. And I highly encourage everyone to do that. Keeping it updated it's helping with the communication. It's great. And it gives people an idea of how long something took to arrive, how long it took to get back, that it did get back. You don't have to worry about it. And on the lending side, it's the same thing. You can recall items. I don't see that happening very often, if at all. It's not uncommon in an academic library that might say, oh, we need our book back. And they'll just ask you with no notice, despite the previous due date. But even I still haven't seen that very often. You'll also receive your renewal requests through Links so that you can answer them right then and there. And then when you get the item back that you sent out, you can always just check it back in. It Links. You still have to check it back in within your own ILS, but this way you can mark it in and then the borrowing library knows that you got it back. And that was a successful transaction. And yes, you can obtain the numbers of the ILLs that you are placing and lending in Links. I'll show you how to do that. It's fairly simple. You just have to enter in the dates for the time period that you want. You can't just run a general report and get all your numbers at once. You have to do the borrowing and lending separately. And you can't actually retain the numbers in Links. Like you can still just do another search again. But if you'd like to actually have all of your stats available to say, actually, we're lending 5 books a month or something like that, then I suggest you have a separate spreadsheet somewhere. And then, once a month, I do the same thing. I just go and type out how many numbers of items have been requested. It brings me to DAP. It's more of an independent patron-initiated ILL system. It's a voluntary program, and I have to say, individual libraries under a public library system have to apply on their own. So just because one Sal's library is a DAP member doesn't mean that all are. You'd have to have your director fill out an application. And otherwise, it's similar. What I have found and what I recommend for it, it's for students or faculty at colleges trying to borrow from other colleges or do the research from other colleges, and for research-minded library patrons who need to access a different library. I really recommend that this is where the reference interview comes in strong, heavily, and that you want to see if the patron is looking for a specific book, or if they're looking for more of a collection and they're not quite sure what they're looking for. Because if they're not sure what they're looking for, then DAP might be the better option. You don't want to waste everybody's time with filling out a DAP card for the patron to go get it. And I've had calls. One call I get from the public is always about DAP. And I said, well, wait, if you know the article, you should just interlibrary loan that. Oh my goodness. Like you don't need to go get a DAP card and then get the journal and then copy it at the library. DAP was created in 1974, where ILL had a much longer turnover. And it was because when time was of the essence. Um, it's a good program. It is still around. Um, but not everybody needs a DAP card. It's sort of if you keep going and needing to do that research, the DAP card might be good. I can say, go over it. I purposely made these available publicly so that patrons can read the user agreement right online on CDLC's website so that they understand what it means. Because with DAP, that means the patron is going to the library and getting that book and then going back to that library to return that book. It's different than ILL where you're kind of handling the transportation. Um, and there's other forms if you are adopt contact or if you apply, then all the secret forms, not so much of the internal desk keeping is there for you as well. I have to say I'm planning on scheduling the DAP annual meeting for sometime in September. And we like to make that available as a refresher for DAP libraries, as well as any library that's interested in learning more and applying. We do this once a year. Come to the DAP meeting. We supply the DAP cards, which are these little paper cards, and promotional materials about the program. We try to facilitate communication with the Google group for DAP libraries, and we do provide ongoing continuing education, not just through the DAP annual meeting, but I'm always happy if you want to learn more, you want me to just talk directly to your director about it, we can set up an appointment and I'm happy to go visit. And what I ask for DAP libraries is they have to record the patron information in a timely manner. Communication is really important. Fill out the annual statistics and update your directory with new information as it becomes available. The DAP directory is available online, so that's how patrons can see where all of this information is located.
Megan, does that
And
DAP directory and have a list of like participating libraries?
yes, it does. So yes, and that is available online. We're about to here, and this is just my links. I'm really just gonna actually exit this and we'll just go to the CDLC homepage right now. As I said in that last slide, as I said, sharing. I mean, if you have a question and it's about something that you think that I would do, go to the sharing tab. That's where all my stuff is. And underneath here, you can see that we have direct links or access to links, our partial union catalog, which is CDLC's internal catalog. So that it's just, we do have one or two bookshelves that we have a lending library ourselves. And our materials are there, as well as some of those smaller libraries where CDLC does the cataloging. And some libraries don't even have their own catalog, and that their holdings are located in Puck. This is also where you can find New York Heritage and New York State Historic newspapers. And these are our guides. These are my LibGuide about interlibrary loan, the one for the link to the ILL directory, which we'll go over, the DAP guides, and the delivery information. So if you have questions about the courier, let's do that one first. You want to click on delivery, and I've kind of broken it down into the different courier systems. There's the ELD, public library delivery. This will have all the codes on it, school library system, and we do have a list of CDLC members with no courier service. So, I mean, like I said, most academic libraries do. Maria College does not. So you can find these smaller libraries right away and say, oh, I need to mail this item out. DAP. So here's general information, kind of a description of the program. These are the flyers and information that I said that's available, including in the library participation application. So, you know, and similar to library interlibrary loan, the library really dictates its policy on what it will and will not lend for DAB. And you might see it being more restrictive, such as like an item limit or in library use only. Um, you'll see, and you can also see from the directory, it's an Airtable. Give it a second to load up. You can filter it by library types. As you can see, so these are the different colleges and systems that participate. See, so these are and I didn't write any of this. This is exactly what Hudson Valley has requested. So they want you to bring a photo ID along with your valid app card, and they will, they'll have their own notes there. When you access the CDLC homepage, there's several different ways to get to links. There's the direct URL, but you can always click login and that will bring you to a different links as well for links and DApp logins, but it is right here on the page. So I'm not logged in yet, but this is just the homepage. You can absolutely just start searching right away. Let's see. You can also limit the types of lenders that you want to search for. I really recommend that you don't. You just leave it on all lenders and then narrow it down from there. But if you were really just looking strictly for other public libraries or, academic libraries, you can do that. Let me click login. We'll say that that's what you'll be directed to do first is go to links and then click you won't see a login option if you don't have an account before, but to create a new account, that is the registration code that you need to get from CDLC. It's in the first field, and you just have to fill out your email address. You do have to create a new username. It can be your email address. That is absolutely fine. You create your own password, fill in your information. Your institution's important. We need to know that. It's okay if you don't know your location code or your OCLC symbol, but you can look it up in the directory. As you see, we do use them, list them right here. You have to select your system. And then there's our terms and conditions of use, which is pretty much comply with copyright law. Let me see, it's really all the stuff. It's a lot simpler than an Apple contract. It's just basic stuff about that you're going to not misuse links, and then you accept the terms and create your new account. And I'll always send you the link to reset your password if you forget, which is pretty much just entering your email address, sending that in. Let me log in with my user account. This is the one I use for all the examples that I show people. Okay, so when you do log into your Links account the first time, you'll see your user profile. You can always search up here in the top. This is just basic, and it's these boxes right here that you will use the most. You can edit your user profile. Most likely you'll be editing the library profile. Here's my library, here's the information. All of this is set. Suspending your library's lending status. This is powerful. This is nice that you can turn off the requests. So if you're having staffing needs over the holidays, vacations, an incident at your library, you can suspend the lending status. It's a double negative. So when you have it click to no, that means you will receive requests because you're not suspending your library's lending status. If you set it to yes, then it will prevent you from getting requests. You can enter in a date, and I mean, it could be a year from now, or you could leave that blank and it will just default to 7 days. But I recommend that people kind of turn it off around the holidays if you think that it's going to be quiet, you're not going to have a lot of staff members, and that you won't be able to keep up with any requests. And this is where you select in your library profile the items that you're willing to loan. Because of these broad search parameters, I left everything on yes. And I mean, we don't even have microfilm here, but don't have to worry about it. Nobody's requesting microfilm that we don't have. Sometimes with the cataloging, things like electronic journal might just be your Times Union subscription. So that's why I kind of recommend yes. That if you're willing to, send out an article to a different library, then maybe just leave that on. And then you just click save. It's fine if you want to just say only books and nothing else. Absolutely. This is where you want to determine though, if you don't, if you want to just say no AV materials, you might want to select no for that as well. And when you're following up with your items, you have your request status for borrowing and lending. ILL always likes to keep those two categories separate. First of all, I want to say when you limit your results, that really does work. So right now I have it, so I'll only see the requests that were marked yes, no, or weren't answered. So if a request was canceled, it might not show up. So you might want to click all of these in order to get the whole list of history of the requests that you placed. Right now, this has just defaulted to 365, but you can limit it to like the last 30 or so. Or if you want to see all of your requests after 365 days, click all days. This is where I cannot, can anyone see the action tab? It is located really to the right of here. There's nothing to say, but this is how you can update your thing items. Such as, these are a bunch of fake requests that I was sending to myself as examples, but you can see that I've closed this out, close this out. You can't see it. That's so annoying. Here we go. That action tab I was talking about could be why. So these are still the same books. I'm about to request this book for all of you again. And that's something that we have right here in the CDLC office, but I like using that one. And I find it easier to request books from myself because then I don't have to contact another library and be like, ignore all those requests. So for example, I made this fake request and I filled it. I said yes when I received it, but I never actually checked the item back in. So you can, because this has been expired, because this request was closed, there's no actions to take for this. Check it back in. Yes, I wish to mark it as returned. And now we see the item has been checked in. And let me see. The item's been checked in and there's no longer an action to take. For your stats, I said, click on borrowing, you just enter the date. Let's see, I want to just see how many I had for last month. All right, my answer is probably zero, and that's why that's made an unexpected error. It usually works. I'm not quite sure why they did in that case, but that it will just send you a number and kind of a report. It will break it down by system. I might need to contact our IT people about this though. I'm sorry about that. And there are quick links at the bottom. That's the one to the ILL guide, a quick link to the ILL directory, the feedback and support request. Please use this if there's a problem. I do get the emails and we'll try to take care of it right away. And this is the manual ILL referral form that I mentioned earlier, that other libraries contact me on if they have a request that they cannot find within links. But let's search it. Just search the catalog. And I do like navigating legal issues in archives because with those 4 keyword searches, I can find a book. It's a good example to show everyone. This is the catalog of links. It does look a lot similar to the other one. What I still like about it is that it can show you these little symbols and will identify things. So this is an ebook. I know because of the little E symbol down here. You can see all the different holdings. This is a physical book. This is a physical book. You can see here to the left that you can filter it by formats. You can limit it by the source. So this is really nice. You can see which libraries did not receive a hit from this and which did. We do have a word cloud here, so you can search similar items as well as the mentioned authors. So, all right, I found the book I'm looking for. I can either hit staff request or I can click right onto it. Let me just click onto it so you can see a little bit more. These are the various descriptions and holdings we have for it. And it's interesting, right? You see some of these are blank, some are marked available. Links is updated every day. It is not a live catalog. So, and how to describe that. It won't show you if a book has been recently checked out. And some of these might not be available. At one point, one of them was in archives. This looks like it's updated. And you can actually see where it is located. It will provide you access to that library's catalog. So we can see Albany Law School has this title, holdings, treatise, location, upper, I don't know. It says it has one copy there. So you can actually see their record directly. But if you click staff request, this will bring you from the catalog into the links platform. If you're not logged in ahead of time, that's fine. Then you'll just have to log in after you click staff or request. You get to the request, you make sure that your information is correct. You can enter in a need by date, say, if you have one. You can put a note, once again, test for me. You can put your patron's name and barcode in there. And when the request is finally closed, that information will no longer be available. What we found is that if we didn't put this field in there, the people would put it in the notes section, and then that information doesn't go away. I really don't recommend putting patrons' names in the links record. You can if it's easier for your own organizational purposes. I will say that I don't get to see this field anymore. It's way into the admin side of things. Like I would have to then ask Carrie to go into the source material and look at the code and see if we could pull it out from there, the actual website. But when as you saw, even as an admin, when I get to a list of all of the requests that have been take place with links, it doesn't include the patron's information. If the request is for an article, and that could include, you could write here in notes, hey, I just need the table of contents scanned to me. Can you do that, please? That works. If you say click yes, it will give you the citation information right here. If you click no, it will remain dedicated as a book request. So what I said that you can request multiple copies all at once. As you see, I'll check this back in a second. These became check marks so that you can actually request these all at once. Once I hit submit, all of these requests will go out and then they will all be generated with a new request number, individual request numbers. But I'm going to actually just request a single copy and I'm going to request it from CDLC. Okay, and my request has been sent. As you can see, it generates a number with a year and then 5 digits. If you want to make another one. The other library will receive an email. I'm going to get in my email in a second and show everyone, but and this is what it looks like when when the library receives a new email. They can answer yes or no. If you answer yes, we'll fill. You can put in all the information here. You can say like, oh, our courier is going to be gone for a week. You know, we mailed it to you. You can put in the due date. You can put in the shipping method if you used it as well. If you want to say, no, we can't answer it, you click no, can't fill. You can just click submit and not submit a reason whatsoever, or you can put all of this in, select a reason, or fill in your own text. Borrowing side, I guess. I'm sorry, there is an action tab right there next to status that will allow that right now should be asking if I want to cancel this request or not. All right, and I will show you the emails. So here's 2 links requests. I mean, I have been using these from the same email address. This is the borrowing request that I sent, the first one. It says that I've has been created for the following and shows the title. And it says, do you need to cancel this request? It gives you the option to cancel it within the email. The email that the lending library receives. Oh, that's the copy. There we go. And this is the copy that the lending library receives. And it allows you to say, will you fill this request, yes or not? If you know, it doesn't matter which one you click, it will bring you back into the links and then you can answer it there. Because I clicked yes, it already defaulted to the yes position. All right, I'm going to stop that for there and see, does anyone have any questions? It was a lot.
And if anybody
Um,
has any questions in the future, oh, there is a question in the chat from Vicky.
what would you put? Most likely courier, Vicky. Um, you know, if that's how you're sending it, like I said, if it's going, you know, you have to double check to make sure that library will receive the courier. Odds are, I mean, if it's a UHLS library, yes, it will. Um, it's really a handful of libraries that don't. It's not many. And like you said, for the outside of the courier, you're going to be sending the book to Sal's, but really label the outside as UHLS ILL. And the Sal's staff will know that it's going to UHLS and it's an ILL loan. And it's perfect. And then the UHLS people will know where to send it the right way. I understand I used to only handle ILLs and it would be only, once a year, and it's really hard to remember everything if you're only doing it once a year versus every day. So internally, I recommend just sort of creating whatever procedures work best for your library. And sometimes when you get into that confusing moment of how do I send this off, which is the question I get the most, is like, I really recommend a checklist of things to do. Like, this is how you process it out internally. Make sure you answer the links request, then send it in the courier, then and then you can even include the return process as well of like, did you get the book back? Yes. Did you check it in links? Did you check it in your system? That should be okay then. So that really helps matters as well. Um, I did get a question about billing libraries to charge for ILL items. I assume that meant like with lost or damaged items. Um, And in that case, I'd recommend contacting the library. You can feel free to CC on me on it. If you would prefer not to have that awkward conversation, just contact me and I'll facilitate it, and that's absolutely fine. We don't actually have a form or a system designed for that because it doesn't happen that frequently. We did have a case where it wasn't until a library sent out a bill to another library about missing items that we found out that the items had been requested and they never arrived. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I'm glad you sent out the bill because now we're looking for them. And they did turn up. With a crossover of couriers, especially definitely the turnover of courier drivers and library staff, um, it does get confusing from time to time. Generally. It used to be that CDLC was in the same building as UHLS. So the interchange of items really just was a matter of walking across the hall. If it was a heavy day, we used a cart, but that was the worst it was. And so now, it didn't work out too well with CDLC still remaining the hub after we moved because a lot of items were really just going back and forth before we'd send them back to UHLS. Now UHLS is on ELD, and so they receive all of the ILL transfers, and it's pretty easy for them to then just receive them and send them off to the right courier.
All right. Thank you, Megan. I really appreciate it. If people have any more questions, you can reach out to me, or I'm sure Megan would be happy to answer any questions if you email her. And I'll send out a record. I'll share the recording with everyone that registered and Megan's slides. Thank you for joining us virtually today and have a good afternoon.
Yeah.
Again, Megan.
I see Vicky's. All right. If you want to hit stop recording, I'll tell Vicky right now what the registration code is.